Morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who is joining us today for the World Day of Prayer and Action for Children 2023. I'm Rebecca Rios-Cohn from Arigato International, and I'm here in Mumbai, India, with colleagues and friends with Dr. Vinu Aram and Professor Anantanan Rambachan. We've had the privilege to be here this week to launch the World Day of Prayer and Action for Children from Mumbai. We've had an amazing week here, which happened to also coincide with the Diwali season, and as well as the final World Cup of cricket. And we had on the 17th and 18th of November, 2 extraordinary days as we celebrated and commemorated the World Day with over 100 institutions that work for children here in India. We had over 700 children also participating, and it's been a very exciting and emotional week for all of us. So I have to say we're thrilled that we were able to do this year, to draw attention on some critical issues that affect children worldwide. And I want to first of all thank the planning committee. There are many people and organizations that came together to make this possible. We've been planning this event again for several months. So we thank all the members of the planning committee for their support and contribution. And I want to say that two of the most interesting outcomes of this World Day in Mumbai has been, for me personally, and I know for the same for my colleagues, has been quite fascinating. We're overjoyed that we had such a tremendous response. First is we have a call for a peaceful world for our children that everyone has pretty much endorsed participating in this World Day. And we launched the first day on Friday the 17th. Friday the 17th, we started off with an interfaith service at none other than the Mani Bhavan, which is the home where Mahatma Gandhi was living for 17 years. And this was a holy place, you can say, for us, a spiritual place for us to start our reflection of the World Day. And the second outcome that we're very grateful for is we're always talking about the genuine participation of children. We're always talking about how can they make a meaningful contribution. Well, when we had some 500 children with us on the second day, and that was also a very exciting event with song and dance and reflection and very participatory. The children were actually telling us what we needed to think about, and us adults. But they also suggested, as they heard and listened, and as they listened and watched over a video of the bombing of Hiroshima, they said, we'd like to write a letter. We'd like to write a letter to the leaders of the world, because they heard earlier that Mahatma Gandhi had written a letter to Hitler back in the day. And they said, and they asked us, if Mahatma Gandhi could write a letter to Hitler, why can us children here write a letter to the world leaders asking for peace? And I can't read you all the entire letter, but it's so authentic. It says, a call for help to world leaders on behalf of the children of the world. It says, we, the children of India, gathered here for the World Day of Prayer and Action for Children 2023 in Mumbai, along with over 700 of our friends, to pray and discuss actions for ending violence against children. We would like to present this before you on behalf of the children of the world. It says that we children are deeply saddened at the thought of our friends, fellow boys and girls, suffering in war-struck nations. War is an incurable disease and a scar on any country's face. Wars don't prove who is right, but only who is left. And it goes on in a very genuine and meaningful manner. And then one of the things that it says, it basically challenges adults to answer, why do we adults have to go into violent action, into conflict and war, and be so destructive to resolve our differences. So I thought it was very deep, and we're going to be sharing this with world leaders. We have made that on behalf of Arigato a commitment to do that. So we have a great program today. We hope you will stay with us to hear some of the child rights activists, as well as some of the child activists themselves that we have in our program. We also have some experts that are going to be addressing some critical issues. I have my colleague, Ms. Andrea Kaufman of World Vision, who's going to also be moderating part of this session that we're doing today. And we hope you will stay with us, because we also will be presenting the 5 winners of the Wear My Shoes Award. The Wear My Shoes Award is in its 3rd edition. We thank the Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities for their support this 3rd year, so that we can honor and recognize promising practices at the grassroots. So you will have a great program. We hope you will also put in the chat box any concerns, any questions that you would like to share with us. And now, without further ado, I would like to present the president of Arigato International, Reverend Keishi Miyamoto, has prepared a message, a recorded message on this occasion. So now we will watch his message, and then we will come back and introduce the next speaker.
"はじめに、イスラエル、パレスチナ、ウクライナ、その他の戦争と紛争の犠牲になっている数えきれない子どもたちのために祈りを捧げます。親愛なるありがとうインターナショナルの友人、子どものための宗教ネットワークのメンバー、そして世界の子どもたちの皆様、この特別な日である11月20日に、子どものための祈りと行動の日のもとに、皆様にご挨拶機会を賜り、感謝の気持ちでいっぱいです。今日、私たちはすべての子どもの幸福と基本的人権の重要性を認め、思いやりと団結の精神で集まりました。子どものための祈りと行動の日は、私たちに現在と未来の世代を守り、育てていく共通の責務があることを改めて思い起こさせる時でもあります。この祈りと行動の日は、1989年子ども人権条約の採択の日にあたります。私たちは共同して子どもの権利を献身的に擁護することが求められており、ありがとうインターナショナルはそのグローバルな運動を牽引できることを誇りに思います。今年は子どもたちのより良い世界に向けた道を照らす希望の光として、活力あふれる都市ムンバイからこの意義深い記念行事を発信しています。ムンバイにおける開催を受け入れてくださいました ゲゼビのアラム博士とシャンティ・アシュラムの皆様が子どもたちの生活向上のために行われている貴重なご支援とたゆまないご尽力に対し、心より感謝申し上げます。すべての子どもたちの幸せに対する献身する姿は、私たちを奮い立たせてくれます。また、子どものための祈りと行動の日に引き続きご参加くださり、貴重なメッセージを広く伝え、世界の子どもたちの権利と幸福を擁護する活動を続けていただいている大勢のパートナーの方々に感謝申し上げます。皆様の取り組みにより、世界中の宗教コミュニティが啓発され、この崇高な目的のもとに参集してくださることを願っています。そして、この集いがすべての子どもの尊厳を促進し、子どもたちが身体的、情緒的、精神的に成長することができるよう、安全で包括的な子どもの成長環境を作る機会となることを切に願っています。暴力と貧困が世界の子どもたちに多大な影響を与えている一方、気候変動の危機は人類が地球とすべての命あるものとつながっていることを思い出させてくれます。そして私たちに自然の神聖さを認識し、地球の番人としての役割を受け入れるよう迫ってきています。気候変動に取り抜くことは、環境的な責務のみならず、道徳的な責務、思いやり、配慮、そしてすべての子供のためにより良い未来を作る責任に目覚めることでもあります。気候変動の危機は、私たちが子供の権利を確保する上で、新たな試練となっています。すべての子供の権利を尊重する世界に向けた道のりは、一人で歩めるものではありません。私たちは互いに支え合い、対話し、持てるものを持ち寄り、すべての子供が愛とケア、子供たちにふさわしい機会を享受できるようにしなければなりません。私たちが共に手を取り合うことで、信仰が子供たちの生活を変革し、ひいては全体としての人間性を高める力を持つことを示すことができます。本日、すべての宗教コミュニティに対して、私たちの子供たちの権利を守る緊急性を認識して、一つになって手を支えていくことを改めてお願いしたいと思います。私たちが一つになれば、子供たちが尊重され、大切にされ、保護され、成長する機会が提供される世界を作ることができるのです。2023年の子供のための祈りと行動の日において、子供の権利を守る者として、子供たちの夢を育み、子供たちの幸福を守っていくことを誓おうではありませんか。そして、性別、国籍、人種、宗教などの違いにかかわらず、すべての子供たちを包み込む愛と思いやりと連帯の織物を
Thank you. Thank you. And now we're going to the next part of our program, which is, I'm very pleased and honored to introduce Dr. Kezavino Aram, President of Shanti Ashram, who will share her remarks on this World Day. Over to you.
Greetings from India. As Rebecca said, on the 17th and the 18th, we had the in-person events of the World Day of Prayer and Action for Children. We had a wonderful children-led interfaith prayer at the historic memorial of Mahatma Gandhi, Mani Bhavan, and there came the call for building a peaceful world for our children. Reverend Miyamoto said, it's imperative that we ensure every child's dignity, as well as create inclusive and safe spaces. I think this is what took us to the second event, which was a roundtable of 100 organizations, where we looked at ways in which child participation could be ensured, but also very, very concrete areas where work had to be done. The theme for this year's World Day of Prayer and Action that we all agreed together as a global community was caring for our children is caring for our planet. I have great pride in sharing this time with two wonderful child representatives of India. I therefore invite you to listen to my colleague, Ms. Muskan from India.
Greetings of peace. Today, I, Muskan, stand in front of you all, not just as a student, but also as someone who strongly believes in the power of our generation to make a positive change in our society. A problem or a thing that deeply hurts me is the prevalence of violence against children in our society. From subtle forms of discrimination to explicit forms of abuse, violence of any kind leaves an everlasting impact on the mental health of children, destroying their ability to thrive in peace and learn in a peaceful atmosphere. Living in this fear and constantly having to battle gender-based violence disturbs the mental health, mental being, mental state of mind, and claiming to be living in a peaceful society is not justifiable according to me. I strongly am of the opinion that violence against children is a moral imperative that demands our immediate attention and urge you all to ponder on the same. At this juncture, I, Muskan, on behalf of the children of the world, have a request to make to the global community. A request to encourage non-violent communications, more and more intergenerational dialogues, and providing the best and the most opportunities to children. Having been a volunteer at Shanti Ashram and attended and given the opportunity to be a part of multiple intergenerational dialogues myself, expressing my opinions, my views, having them being acknowledged, and actually having to witness that there are people who believe in making a positive change in the society and fostering change and development for us children has not only given me a sense of that hope and that security, but also made me the bold girl I am today in front of you all. If only every child in this world is given that opportunity for me, and that I believe that the world is going to be definitely a better and a more expressive place for every children. Well, this journey is just not mine. It echoes the struggles of countless. While we children continue to live in the hope for change, I as a child commit to being an agent of positive change and standing up against violence whenever and every time possible. Thank you.
Just like Muskan, I think each of us adults will also say when we work with children, when we are in an intergenerational ecosystem, the hope transfers back and forth from children to adults and adults to children. I also think we have a moment in history where we can say, as Professor Anand Rambachan spoke at the Children's Huddle and presented to us, the possibility of saying this World Day of Prayer and Action for children can actually become a collaboration, a day of prayer and action with children, a thought that we can process and maybe a change that we can ensure. I therefore invite you to listen to another colleague of mine, 11-year-old Chinmayan, who is also a child representative from India, and along with Muskan was present at the India Roundtable. Here is Chinmayan's sharing with you.
Hello everyone, my name is Chinmayan and today I will be presenting to you a speech on peace and violence-free society. We all know that wars are never good. They destroy the very base of humanity and yet countries go to war. Believe it or not, innocent children are the most vulnerable group in these conflicts. Now, is there a solution to this? Yes, and it is by following non-violence and maintaining peace, the mantra of the world. Now, there are different ways of looking at this solution. Peace for an individual is a feeling of inner calm with no conflicts in mind. When we take this to a larger scale, creating dialogues and nurturing trust between countries can help maintain peace at a global level. Now, as child representative, I want to put forward my thoughts on how children can help in maintaining peace in the society. Children can spread the message of peace in schools, colleges, even their homes, etc. Not only that, there are the scouts, the guides, NCC and so much more which have taken the initiative of maintaining peace through children. Now, as a child representative, I urge this august audience to pledge today to commit ourselves to peace and always remember, let non-violence be our path and let peace be our destination.
Well, you heard the passionate pleas of Muskan and Chinmayan. And this was very, very important to us as we gathered in India for the in-person events of the World Day of Prayer and Action for Children. If you recall, the journey of in-person events started in Dubai in the backdrop of the beautiful Dubai Expo, and our colleagues at the Interfaith Alliance put this wonderful program together just after the pandemic. This was refreshing because we could think together in person. We then traveled to Rome at the Vatican, and there again, there was a very special moment because we had spoken about child sexual abuse and its prevention in a very deep way. Traveling to India, which has been declared as the world's most populous country with 1.4 billion people living here, the message is clear. 44% of India is made up of children. Children below the age of 18 years. Any work that we do together must include their voice, their opinion, their cooperation. And therefore, brothers and sisters from around the world, around this theme, caring for our children is caring for our planet. May you absorb, may you celebrate, may you reflect, may you receive these beautiful images from India, where we had a very, very meaningful 2 days together.
the series, I invite Sri Ganesh Devraj, Trustee Shanti Ashram,
Give a wonderful toolkit to Mani Bhavan Library, a toolkit on nurturing spiritual development of children in early childhood to prevent violence against children. This toolkit was developed by Arigato International.
I would also be very grateful that this moment be recorded here in Mani Bhavan, that India came together, the world came together to celebrate our commitment, our accountability, and our love for our children. May you remember the words of Mahatma Gandhi. If we want real peace in the world, we have to begin with children. Thank you for that privilege for hosting the in-person event of the World Day of Prayer and Action in India, Rebecca. And I'm sure the increasing momentum will continue to the next year.
Thank you, Vino. It was indeed an enormous emotional experience for all of us. We learned a lot. I think I learned a lot. There were even new phrases coined that I heard for the first time, like we talk about interfaith dialogue and collaboration, but now there's also interfaith friendship, which I think is a beautiful concept. And now to the next part of our program, which I think is very fitting because it will be the children speaking again. And the first child activist is, thank you to UNICEF for allowing us to invite UNICEF's first young advocate for environmental and climate action in Latin America and the Caribbean. His name is Francisco Vera, and he has sent us a message.
Hola a todos y a todas, mi nombre es Francisco Vera Manzanares, soy activista climático y en defensa de la vida y defensor joven de UNICEF para la acción climática en América Latina, el Caribe y España, y pues es un gusto acompañarlos, así sea por medio de este medio. Me hubiera encantado pues poder estar de manera presencial, sin embargo, así participo de esta manera, con este video. Para empezar, pues me gustaría empezar hablando un poco de esas líneas generales en términos de medio ambiente, educación y participación y la importancia de cada una de ellas, ¿no? Ahora mismo como sociedad, como humanidad, estamos pasando por un momento crítico, por un momento que podríamos definir crucial y muy importante para la historia incluso. Hemos modificado a tal manera el planeta que geológicamente hablando estamos en una nueva era, conocida como el antropoceno, ¿no? Estamos también, así como se estableció en el 2009, se establecieron 9 límites planetarios. De esos 9 hemos superado 6 límites planetarios que van desde la acidificación, la deforestación, la capa de ozono, todos esos límites o fronteras planetarias, digamos, son, digamos, diversos líneas o diversos tópicos determinantes para la salud y viabilidad de la Tierra, precisamente. Estamos hablando de que el sistema climático, de que el sistema ecológico mundial está en riesgo y por ello ahí la educación juega un papel trascendental, así como lo ha jugado en otros momentos de la historia. La educación tiene el poder de transformar. Pero sobre todo una educación, quiero enfatizar, una educación que incluya la participación activa de los estudiantes, la participación de los niños, niñas y jóvenes y que se hagan finalmente también responsables pues de toda esta situación, responsables de su futuro y de su presente sobre todo. La educación es una herramienta que podemos poner a favor precisamente de un cambio positivo para nuestra sociedad. Porque en medio pues de toda esta situación de incertidumbre y esta situación tan crucial que no solo es la cuestión climática, es la guerra, es el hambre, son las pandemias, tenemos herramientas como la educación, tenemos instrumentos como la educación que nos permiten pues tener digamos, espacios adaptables al momento de la sociedad para que los niños se preparen, ¿no? Para que los niños estén preparados para afrontarse pues con los problemas y las realidades y los retos y desafíos de nuestra sociedad. Así que por eso, por una educación que sea adaptable, como lo he dicho, y que incluya pues la cuestión climática y ambiental, por una educación ambiental y climática que incluya la participación de los niños y estudiantes. Gracias. Y les envío un muy fuerte abrazo y les deseo también un muy buen resto de jornada. Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Francisco, por tu participación. Te agradecemos. Thank you very much, Francisco, for your participation today. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the next moderator for the session on other children's views on climate justice. The session will be moderated by our friend Fodai from Sierra Leone. He's National Vice President of the Children's Forum Network, and he will be moderating the next session with the other children. Over to you, Fodai.
Greetings, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Fode Bangura, and as the moderator of this panel, I open this discussion upon the faiths and beliefs in our religions, and that's faith is what brought us to today together in discussing the faith and future of our people, specifically children and our planet. As I said earlier, my name is Fode Bangura, and I am 18 years of age and from the Republic of Sierra Leone in West Africa. Today in this panel, I'm joined by 3 colleagues around the world on this panel to discuss the World Day of Prayer and Action in conjunction with the commemoration of World Children's Day. Within our 25 minutes, we will discuss briefly on 1, the interfaith action for environment, and 2, we will discuss on vulnerability of children, and then 3, we'll discuss on the climate crisis and the need for juvenile justice system and prisons are closely associated. So today I want to introduce my colleagues who will be joining me in this discussion. I have Elian, I have Alieni from India, and Elian is from Kenya. And of course, I also have Yael. They will introduce themselves better as we go on. So, Yael, are you with us? So if Yael is with us, she'll be the panelist analyzing for us the interfaith action for environment. Aleni? Aleni, can you hear me? Aleni?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
Hello?
thank you very much. So Aleni, I want you to tell us what do you mean by when you said the interfaith action for environment in sustainability? We want to get a kind of breakdown of understanding.
So before I start, I would like to thank everyone. So I would like to thank everyone for this great opportunity because I believe in prayer and action. And thank you for the nice question today. So COP27 decision mentions the role of local communities, cities, indigenous people, and children on climate change, who gives priority to the most powerful medium, faith and religion. Meaningful progress in climate action is not possible without just only by one person, one group, or one government. It needs many mass action with many domains. Recent research say that 84% of all people come from any sort of religion. By 2050, 87% of all people will be part of a religion. It just shows the potential of faith and religion to work for any changes to create a sustainable world. Here, I propose the main framing of faith and religion to create a culture of conservation instead of destruction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aleni. So from what I get from what you were saying, so you were talking about how religion creates a conservation to culture. I don't know. I think that has been very insightful, and I think we want to know how does religion create that conservation for culture.
Sorry, I could not hear. Sorry.
Okay, so part of your statement, you said that religion creates a conservation for culture. So I want you to tell us, how does religion create the conservation for culture? Aleni?
So I had so I had a planting activity called Greenathon. So in this campaign, I had a plan to my campaign. I had to plant 10,000 plants across the world, and many churches, temples, and mosques helped in here. So through children, we can lay the foundation stones of green culture to the minds of children, the real future makers.
Thank you very much, Aleni. That's a very wow answer. And now I go to Yael. Yael, are you with us? Yael is our panelist who will be telling us about vulnerability of children's rights in connection with climate justice. So Yael, tell us, how does children's rights becomes vulnerable, and how does it connect with the climate justice?
Hola, ¿qué tal? Mi nombre es Yael Félix. Bueno, los derechos de los niños y niñas se han visto vulnerados por el cambio climático. Y le estaré comentando, tratando acerca de este tema que para mí es muy importante, la vulnerabilidad de los derechos de la niñez en relación a la justicia climática. La justicia climática se refiere a equidad climática, en donde cada uno de nosotros toma una responsabilidad y lo que venga con el cambio climático, entonces también crea una responsabilidad, pero equitativa, en donde cada uno de nosotros aporta y ejecuta de acuerdo a sus posibilidades. Pero bueno, la justicia climática engloba lo que son, como había dicho anteriormente, lo que es la equidad y los derechos humanos. Pero en este caso le estaremos llevando a lo que son los derechos de los niños, que son los mismos derechos humanos, pero los niños son los que más son afectados por lo que son los cambios climáticos y todo eso. Entendiendo de que el cambio climático es una variación global que sucede naturalmente, pero sucede principalmente y más agravado por la intervención, la acción humana. O sea, nosotros mismos hacemos de que el cambio climático se produzca tan robustamente y que cause estos daños que se están haciendo poco a poco irremediables, porque ya hemos tratado la justicia climática, el cambio climático en otras ocasiones, y se le da la importancia, pero a veces quedamos solamente en una superficie en donde creemos que ahí acapara todo, mientras que debajo hay mucho más que es de interés para cada uno de nosotros y debemos de hacer acción a todo eso, pero una acción que sea visible, que no sea simplemente pequeñas cositas en donde queremos justificar la acción climática, para la justicia climática, en pequeñas acciones que realmente no hacen un cambio tan grande como digamos. Estos derechos que están relacionados dentro de lo que es la justicia climática, estos derechos que son afectados, que son vulnerados, son esos que son nutrición adecuada, educación, calidad de vida, un medio ambiente sano e ideal en el que pueda un niño desarrollarse, en donde pueda explotar su niñez, donde no se le vea afectado su niñez redundantemente. Entendiendo de que cada niño a nivel global, cada situación es diferente, pero cada niño tiene derecho a una vida plena, un ambiente pleno, un ambiente de calidad. Y claramente, aunque no todos, no podamos cubrir a todos, entendemos de que la justicia climática debe de llegar a esos niños y para que no se convierta en este ciclo en donde cada vez más niños y más niños tienen fallos en lo que es su sistema de educación, y la justicia climática se ve relacionada por el asunto en que viven en lugares muy vulnerables, en donde el acceso a la educación se les imposibilita, igualmente el acceso a la salud, donde también viven en lugares muy vulnerables y ese acceso a un centro de salud también se le complica. Entonces, cuando un niño se le dificulta el acceso a estas cosas que deben de ser importantes y acción primaria, como lo es la educación, una nutrición adecuada y la salud en sí, entonces cada niño tiene un punto menos donde su vida, su calidad de vida no está siendo bien tratada. Gracias.
So, Yael, if I can comment, part of your statement, you said climate action
Adelante.
is a responsibility and it needs equity. So, as a child, how do you think the actions that you want to take to obviously fight climate change, how does it not get the equity, the support that is needed for you to participate and contribute your meaningful ideas and of course your brilliant solutions towards tackling this climate emergency that we are facing?
Claro, bueno, estamos rodeados de cosas en donde podemos ser parte, donde podemos ser parte. Claramente hay muchas opciones para escuchar nuestra voz. He tenido la oportunidad en otras ocasiones de brindar mi opinión, mi punto de vista y donde se me ha escuchado. Y entiendo de que dar claramente nuestra posición en donde nosotros, o sea, lo que nos rodea, o sea, cómo eso nos afecta verdaderamente. Y dar a entender de que la situación realmente, o sea, nuestra realidad, mostrar nuestra realidad a quienes realmente tienen la responsabilidad. Y así hacer responsables a organismos, organizaciones, instituciones, donde provean, ¿verdad?, esas soluciones significativas que queremos ver. Porque nosotros solos no vamos a poder. Pero cuando toman esas decisiones sin consultar a nosotros, entonces no se ve realmente en dónde están siendo vulnerados los derechos de los niños y las niñas. Entonces, cuando toman nuestra posición, nuestra opinión, y se da a conocer, se da a entender y se toma en cuenta, entonces ahí nuestra voz está siendo escuchada y podemos ser parte de la solución. Igualmente podemos participar en actividades que podamos, nosotros como niños, que podamos participar y podamos aportar de manera positiva, pero entiendo que al dar nuestra voz y que se tome en cuenta, que las organizaciones, instituciones tomen su responsabilidad como adultos e implementen, ¿verdad?, acciones en donde nosotros podamos ver esos resultados, porque a veces son resultados fugaces, por momentos o que simplemente son resultados que no benefician directamente a los niños. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Yael, for such a positive response towards those questions. Yael and Aleni, I'll get back to you later on. What's the positive message Yael was just trying to send is that children need to be seen, children need to be heard, children need to be engaged, and children need to contribute meaningfully towards taking climate action in solving and finding solutions to the climate emergency. Besides, why children need to contribute? Because the future that adults are discussing is ours. So for that reason, that is why Yael made such meaningful ideas towards this panel discussion. So now to you, Eliane. Eliane, as a climate activist, and not just any climate activist, but you are Africa's youngest climate change ambassador, climate finance and biodiversity ambassador. So for that reason, I think the climate crisis is part of your focus work. It's part of what you do. It's part of your advocacy. And for that reason, I want you to tell us how the climate crisis, of course, and the need for juvenile justice system, juvenile justice centers can be reformed, and how closely climate change and juvenile justice system and centers are related.
Thank you very much, Fode. It's lovely to see everyone here again after all the, planning and all the meetings that we've had. It's lovely to see everyone here. And I love all the messages and all the people that have come before me, all the children. So for me, the intersection between juvenile climate change and health is very key, because some prisons don't provide a safe enough don't provide safe protection, or don't provide protection that causes the prisoners to not have to go through, like if it's a prison that's next to like a really strong river, and some of them get injured or stuff like that, that's really bad, and that includes climate change. So for example, if there's a flood next to a prison, some of the water may get to the prison and get to the water source that the prisoners drink from, and that can cause diarrhea and death also. So, but for me, I think mainly it's mainly about health and everything. But for me, I think mainly I'm going to talk about children and the intersection they have between juvenile and the intersection between juvenile and what do you call climate change? Sorry. So, for example, we have the wars that are happening in Sudan, in the Middle East, and in Congo. And a lot of mainly the population that's affected the most is the children population. And this causes a future that, might not ever happen. So the more children that, suffer or go to juvenile, or, suffer from diseases like cholera, we won't have a future, and we might as well just call it an end to the world and the human race if we don't help the children. So I can give an example. In Kenya right now, El Nino has hit already, and some kids have already died due to malaria, due to diarrhea. And this is, people are not realizing the huge effect on this, not just the effect on, families, but also the effect on the future generation. These wars that are happening now do not help us in any way. And some of the kids before me said, as humans, we don't have an understanding that you don't have to have a war, to claim what you know best, or what is right. You just have to talk politely, maybe have conferences, have meetings, stuff like that, when you understand and you talk as a country or talk as a community, instead of having conflicts. Maybe conflicts are small, but may it also be big conflicts, like the stuff that's happening in the Middle East. So for me, I do think that the intersection between juvenile climate change and health is that when in every aspect, climate change is related. So if it's a flood next to a juvenile where kids are, and maybe they're doing their routines that they have to do, maybe a punishment, a flood comes, it's not their fault, and sweeps them away. What are people going to do? Are they just going to say, oh, that's just a punishment, for the kids and for the children who didn't listen and not do the right thing? Or they're going to say, we need more of a safeguarding. We need to have floodgates or stuff like that. We need to have, we need to evacuate, stuff like that. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Eliane. Now, sensitively, I just remembered one of a great humanitarian, and of course, once said that every human being is equal in rights and in dignity. Of course, that was said by the late Nelson Mandela, His Excellency. So, Eliane, what do you think? How do you think this message from him back then is related to Yael's just concluded statement on how children are not, how there is no equity in climate contribution? That's by, in a sense, children are not given so much space to participate and contribute towards climate change. There is space, but not so much. And for you, as an experienced child climate activist in the continent and at a global scale, what do you think about how do you intersect Yael's statement to the late Nelson Mandela's words of wisdom to us?
So I recently did a project about Nelson Mandela, and Nelson Mandela's story was basically, he talked about equality, and he talked about human rights, not just a particular human, like maybe not just the black race or the Asian race or stuff like that. He talked about every single human, no matter if it's a child, no matter if it's an adult, no matter if it's an elderly, no matter who it is, everyone has to have a right in every aspect. And I didn't manage to hear Yael's comment very well because my connection went down. There's something happened in the UK, and I wasn't able to hear Yael's last, a few words that I could, kind of talk about now. But I think what I heard so far was, she's talking that, children have to have a space. And also what I've heard so far and what I've done so far with the GCCS that I had a few months ago, and also with all the kids I've had so far and all the children, that every single child is talking about having child participation in every one of these things. And a lot of children are going to COP28 now. And this is really going to help. I feel like the children are actually going to talk to the world leaders about what they need as children, and what, not them themselves, but also the kids around the world that are going through all these issues. So for me, child participation is a really huge topic that you should cover and that children should go through. And children should always be in these world, leaders conversations, because at the end of the day, in most conferences you see, the world leaders tend to go in a private room and talk about everything. But I do think that it shouldn't be like that. It should be where kids are actually in that private room, because you never know what goes on in these private rooms, and it's only invitation only, which is not what we need if we want our world to develop. Is why from all these COP, I haven't seen much development, because there's always a last minute conversation that's private and it's only the adults, and that's not necessary. So I have a Nelson Mandela's message actually. Nelson Mandela's message was simple. Every human being is equal in rights and in dignity. We need to honor the man and his legacy and the Nelson Mandela rules by ensuring that the people in our prisons can withstand the challenges of our times with their rights and their dignity preserved. Nelson Mandela actually went to prison, and he taught himself law, and he read books by himself, because people really respected him and the fact that he was caring for everyone, and they snuck in like books for them, and they snuck in law books and stuff like that for him to learn and for him to read, which is why he's such a great man. And I think Nelson Mandela is a really empowering person, because he went through he went through a lot of issues. He went to jail, went to prison for he went to prison for 23 years. He went through all the labor they had to go through. It was on Robben Island in South Africa, and he was a very amazing man, and his power was very important. So I don't think we should be forgetting Nelson Mandela's legacy and only focusing on this new things like stuff like that. So I think we should really understand that Nelson Mandela had a very important story. And yeah, thank you. I didn't manage to hear Yael's comment.
Thank you so much, Eliane. I think you were, even though you did not hear Yael very well, but you were able to contribute and able to relate Yael's statement to the question that I asked specifically. So back to Alena. Alena, are you still with us? Alena, so with regards to of course the interfaith action for environment sustainability, I have another question for you, because from what I know and what I've experienced and learned from research and other things is that interfaith and interreligious groups and organizations are very key in terms of raising awareness and influencing decisions at all levels. And I can tell you, and I can testify, religious leaders are the most respected leaders in our society. And for that reason, Alena, I think, what do you think? What is the message that you send to religious leaders, interreligious leaders, both those in our religious places and of course those working with the religious organizations, on how they can contribute? They have been contributing. I mean, how they can improve on their contributions towards environmental sustainability. Alena, are you with us? Hello, Alena, are you with us? Okay, I think we've lost her. I think we've lost Alena. So now to Yael. Yael, are you with us?
Hello.
Yes. Okay, Alena, you are back, right? Did you get my question?
Sorry, I didn't hear actually.
Okay, I think so. I'm saying now, religious leaders have a lot of influence in changing mindset and in influencing decisions and opinions around us in our societies. And I said they are the most respected in our societies. So what message will you send to religious leaders on how to raise awareness or how to improve their work on environmental sustainability?
So we have to first focus on children. We can create a safer environment so that in that way, children are the future. So we must teach our children about the environment and teach children to respect. As in many religions, we respect environment as a mother or as a god, but not many people are respecting that. But we should teach our children to to protect the environment. It should be a culture.
Okay.
A culture of conversation, a conservation.
Thank you very much, Elena, for that contribution. So now to you, Yael. Yael, are you with us? And for me, I kind of have this belief that climate change affects negatively the livelihoods and ability to develop children in an ideal environment. So yeah, what do you think? What is your message towards that? And how do you think your community, your society, or those participating in this meeting can contribute and improve their work on climate change and the environment to see how we can secure our future and the future of our planet? Yael? Did you get my question?
Te escucho,
Yeah,
por ahí. Bueno, no tan claro. Te escucho.
So I said, Yael, that for me, I believe that climate change, it affects children negatively, the livelihoods of children around the world negatively, and not just the livelihoods, but even our ability to develop in an ideal environment. So what do you think you can tell leaders here on this call, here on this meeting today, and those that will also get the information of this meeting today, how to upgrade their work on seeing how they can make our environment and our of course our community safe, and so that we children secured our future and save our planet?
Bueno, tú dices acciones, que no te escuchaba bien, ¿verdad? Para eso último que mencionaste. Bueno, cada uno de nosotros, ¿verdad? Tiene una responsabilidad, ya sea como niño, como adulto, como institución, como organismo, como país, ¿verdad? Entonces, si cada uno de nosotros asume su rol, ya yendo por la parte del cambio climático, o sea, en el cambio climático hay muchas variantes que detonan consecuencias negativas para el cambio climático. Entonces, si cada uno se responsabiliza de su variante, el gobierno como gobierno, los ciudadanos como ciudadanos, se puede llegar a una mejora significativa, que no tengamos que preocuparnos de manera que no cause daño excesivo a lo que son las vidas humanas, especialmente de la vida de la niñez. Entonces entiendo de que para ver resultados importantes, hay que ver resultados, perdón.
Okay, thank you so much, Yael.
Para ver resultados importantes tienen que haber acciones importantes y de peso. Entonces entiendo de que cada organización debe asumir su rol de manera responsable, que se tengan que hacer los cambios que se hagan necesarios para llegar a una justicia climática ideal, entendiendo de que cada organización tiene una responsabilidad y cada gobierno. Que se asuma la responsabilidad y que cada uno de nosotros pueda disfrutar de un ambiente pleno y limpio. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Yael. Elian, quickly in 30 seconds, what's your final word and advice to young people who are climate activists around the world, and what do you want to say to world leaders quickly as we conclude?
Bien,
So I'm going to
no
do
nos
a prayer at the
detengamos.
end. So my
Estamos haciendo
message
un
to the
buen
world leaders
trabajo
is that
y
I'm going to tell world
cada una
leaders we
de
need to have
sus
more children in these
acciones
conferences that
son
are going on.
significativas.
And I think also
Cada
for
una
world
de sus
leaders, we need to
acciones
have,
tienen un valor,
at least one
tanto
child
personal
in
como a
these
nivel
private
social.
conversations or these conclusions in all these conferences that happen. For example,
Que
in the
siguen
World
trabajando,
Bank
¿verdad?,
annual meetings,
en
you
lo
know,
que
there
está en
was
su
the
corazón,
leaders that came for
en
the
lo que
World
está
Bank
en su
annual meetings had
corazón,
to
que
go in
es
a private room
la
for their own
justicia, ya
conversation to
sea
understand and talk more about what they've heard so far.
climática o de los
And I do
derechos,
think
que
children
cada
should be
uno de
involved
nosotros
because
Hello?
I don't know
entienda
if they
Hello,
include
guys. Can you
que lo que
Elian?
hace es de valor.
Yeah, please. I've like moved to Elian, and so Elian is like concluding. So yes, I think we've moved from your question. So I don't know if you can kindly give Elian chance to like conclude. Thank you. Elian, carry on.
Okay, sorry. So I think I'm just going to summarize more child participation because I'm never going to fail talking about this
Bueno, ya
topic.
había finalizado. Gracias.
So I'm not going to fail, and I'm never going to stop talking about child participation. But also for the world leaders, please acknowledge the fact that children are actually doing a lot of hard work in all the countries, in Kenya, in Africa mainly, in India. Children actually do care about the world. They're not just doing it for clout or for anything. Children are actually doing it for their future. And then to all the other children in the world who are taking on, you know, topics like this, maybe environment, maybe child rights, maybe all those topics. Just keep on going, you know, stay close to God, make sure you respect everyone, be humble, do your research and have content on whatever page you have. And also, you know, make sure you actually have a meaning and it's not just something you're forced to do, maybe by your parents or your teachers. Make it a passion. If it's child rights that you want to do it for yourself, then do it for yourself. But yeah, I'm going to end with a prayer because that's very important because it's prayer in action for children. So I'm going to start with the Bible first, and I'll pray. Psalms chapter 82, verse 3-4. Defend the weak and the fatherless. Uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed. Rescue the weak and needy, and deliver them from the hand of the wicked. Dear Lord, your word is filled with accounts. Okay, let's pray, sorry. Dear Lord, your word is filled with accounts of miraculous protection. We claim that power for vulnerable children. Protect those who are affected by wars. Give them the strength and hope to surpass human understanding. Those in prison and those affected by extreme weather, Father, provide them solace. Make your little ones invisible to people who seek to exploit or hurt them. Whisper in the ears of the children to run and hide until the danger passes. Amen. Thank you very much, everyone. God bless.
Thank you very much, Elian. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to us. I've been your host, Fudi Bangura, and may God bless us in all our faith. I hand over back to New York.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for moderating today, and the other children, Elian, Alain, and Yael. I wish we could have continued that conversation because you're in different parts of the world and it's challenging, but we do have a tight program. But thank you again. I'd like to move to the next session, which is going to be moderated by my friend and colleague, Andrea Kaufman, Director of External Engagement of World Vision International. And she's going to be moderating the session, listening to the experts. So over to you, Andrea.
Excellent. What a bless. Can I just confirm you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. What a real blessing and honor to hear such great insights and expertise, prayers and reflection from the children activists who really are experts in their own right on climate justice and the understanding of the deep connection between all the rights of the children and the complexities that children are experiencing right now in the world. really appreciate the way that these children are leading us and teaching us and calling us to action, into specific actions. Was really, really a wonderful panel. And so we are shifting now from our expert panel of experts under 18 and under, to our experts who are 19 and over. And we may have some interaction from Fedoya and others with our 19 plus panelists as well. So we are, as Reverend Miyamoto reminded us, we really must support each other as we engage in dialogue to ensure every child receives the love, care, and future that they deserve, as we seek to foster their dreams and safeguard their well-being. And we are incredibly fortunate in this intergenerational ecosystem that Dr. Aram referred to earlier, to have another incredible panel of experts who will really drive home the intersectional nature of the different issues that are impacting children and how those come to bear on the climate justice issue. I think we all know intuitively and through our experience, our reading, the connection between climate justice, health, education, poverty, violence, and migration, and the way those things are affecting children. So we're going to hear today from our panelists who are going to speak from their unique and essential areas of expertise, telling us about the role that faith actors and faith communities and each of us can play in promoting education, environmental education, advocacy, and really active responses to pursue climate justice. We're going to hear from 7 experts today, and I'm going to introduce each of them briefly and ask them a specific question, and then move through the panel like that. You will notice that there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Not sure if we're going to have time to get to those questions and answers out loud, but maybe we can ask people to be responding in the chat in case we don't. So please do use that button to ask questions along the way. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first panelist, who will be joining us via prepared video. Dr. Najat Malamjid, in some ways, needs no introduction probably to this crowd, but she's a Moroccan pediatrician who served as the United Nations Special Representative of the Secretary General on Violence Against Children since 2019. She previously served as a special rapporteur on the sale of children, child prostitution, and child pornography from 2008. And the question we posed to Dr. Najat is, why is it crucial to tackle the risks of violence that children face while advocating for climate justice? And what can faith actors and religious leaders do to promote resilience and preparedness to respond to violence in contexts of climate change?
Distinguished guests, dear children, dear friends and partners, it's a pleasure to join you through this message to commemorate the World Day of Prayer and Action for Children 2023, which is observed on World Children's Day. We cannot commence such a day without expressing our collective rage and sorrow for the huge toll being paid by children worldwide due to ongoing and multiple crises, including the climate crisis. The climate crisis is a threat multiplier for violence against children, exacerbating the drivers of violence such as poverty, food insecurity, loss of education, humanitarian crisis, and displacement, among others. Around the world, 1 billion children are at extremely high risk of being affected by climate change, natural disasters, and environmental degradation. Over the past 6 years, there were 43 million internal displacements of children linked to weather-related disasters, the equivalent to approximately 20,000 child displacements per day. 40 million children are having their education disrupted every year because of disasters exacerbated by climate change, and this number continues to increase. Children who bear the least responsibility for the climate crisis are among those paying the highest price for its impact. Children who are already disadvantaged are particularly vulnerable, including those who are deprived of family care, with disabilities, living in humanitarian conflict settings, living in poverty or in rural areas, and those who rely on the natural environment and its resources, such as indigenous children. Despite their vulnerability, children have been ignored in the response to climate change. Children have almost no formal role in climate policy and decision-making, and their voices and views are not duly considered in climate policies. As the UN Committee on the Rights of Child has pointed out in its General Comment 26, taking children's rights and their views into account would lead to more ambitious and effective policies on environmental protection. Let me share 3 key messages. Children worldwide are speaking up and taking action. I know from my country mission, partners and children themselves, that children worldwide are speaking up, taking initiative, defending their rights to a safe, peaceful, just, healthy, and inclusive environment. As environmental and human rights defenders, they practice their activism through social media, community engagement, participation in decision-making processes, peaceful protests, and many more. Children are also increasingly using the justice systems as a strong and powerful tool to demand climate justice. These are only a few examples among many. In Colombia, a group of children and youth came together to file the first lawsuit in Latin America on climate change and future generations, and they won. The court ordered the protection of the Colombian Amazon. In Fiji, children and young people developed a climate-smart solution to coastal erosion, which entails planting and maintaining mangrove trees to allow the coast to recover. In Kenya, children and young advocates came together for the first ever child-led Global Climate Change Summit. Children made strong recommendations on global financial justice, poverty eradication, and climate action, calling on global and African leaders. In Peru, in 2012, a 7-year boy created the first bank for children, Ecobanco del Estudiante, which turns trash that children find on streets into money. The bank now has more than 6,000 members aged 10 to 18. In the United States, more than 32,000 children and young people are mobilized in bringing a lawsuit against the government on how their rights have been affected because of the climate crisis. But still, many barriers to child participation remain. We need to bear in mind that climate action does not exist as it does today without the powerful contribution of children and youth-led movements worldwide. But the conditions for children's participation are far less than ideal. They are forgotten and invisible, are not aware of their rights, or live in societies where speaking up is hardly possible because it is seen as a breach of social or cultural norms. And when children do speak up and advocate for climate justice, they are exposed to various risks, both in person and online, such as violence, repression, stigmatization, harassment, arrest, retaliation, and threats, all posed by adults with authority. This power imbalance makes children even more vulnerable to abuse of power and authority. But these risks can be mitigated by ensuring the protection and empowerment of children through providing safe and equitable access to information, including through digital means, a safe pathway to express themselves, be consulted in decision-making process, and to take action. These steps to protection and empowerment allow children to become aware of their personal safety and that of their peers. This also encourages children to explore their relationship with themselves and others, as well as the environment surrounding them. This might draw a parallel to nurturing children's spiritual and moral development, a process which many families and children themselves might look to religious communities for guidance. In addition, religious leaders and their communities also have a key role in raising awareness and mobilizing local communities and families, as they are often the most interconnected and grassroots social organization. Children's participation carries a significance in the social and emotional development of children. Children who are environmental and human rights defenders feel empowered as active citizens. This sense of belonging, in turn, will help nurture children's trust in informal and formal institutions. Less than 7 years remain to achieve the 2030 agenda. Climate and social justice for all children, leaving no one behind, cannot be achieved without children's active and safe participation. Thank you.
Thank you. 1 billion children are impacted, and yet there's no formal mechanism to engage. That quite struck me, along with the fact that in spite of that, we heard many ways where children are finding ways to engage, both through formal systems and informal systems, continuing to call us to action. And one of those ways, our next speaker, Mr. Binyam Dawit Mezmor from Ethiopia, who is an academic specializing in children's rights law. He is the chairperson of the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child and the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child of the African Union. For you, our question today is, what are the key implications and potential transformative effects of General Comment 26? How can we support this ongoing faith-inspired action to better protect and promote the rights of children in the face of climate change and environmental challenges? Over to you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here on this important day. My colleagues and I, we're all engaged to promote the Convention on the Rights of the Child and a number of the work that is being done to promote children's rights throughout the world on this important day. So it's a pleasure to actually be here. I have limited time, so I'm not going to be long, especially having heard some of the powerful messages that have actually come from the children, but also the recorded message from the Special Representative of Secretary General on violence against children. The process for the general comment on children's rights and the environment with a focus on climate change is not something that just started a couple of years ago when the committee posted on its website a concept note. In fact, it's a request that came from children themselves in 2016. I vividly remember I had the privilege of serving as chairperson of the committee at that stage, and we had a day of general discussion to look at some of these issues. And one of the requests that came from the children, but also a number of participants, was to have a general comment reflecting on these issues based on the experience of the Committee on the Rights of the Child to provide guidance to states. At the end of the day, the convention mentions states many times, close to 100 times. And that's not by default, it's by design, because states are important role players in making sure that the rights that are guaranteed in the convention are enjoyed in real life. Now, let me highlight a few elements from the general comment. One is that it was a participatory process. This is the first time that we can safely and confidently say that we had more than 16,000 children who provided inputs. We also benefited from input from civil society organizations, national human rights institutions, obviously states, and a range of other stakeholders, including faith-based communities and faith-based organizations. Now, the general comment addresses critical issues. For instance, the issue on non-discrimination is explicitly addressed. We know of examples where we have the so-called sacrifice zones, by definition, regions rendered dangerous and even uninhabitable due to environmental degradation. We discussed the issue of the right to life, survival, and development, because one of the critical rights that climate change affects, and I like the word climate crisis, is children's right to life, the right to be able to give life the best shot that you can actually give it, to thrive, not just only to survive, but to actually be able to thrive. The point about children's participation was rightly underscored. And in order to enable children to participate meaningfully, the notion of access to information is also critical. The extent to which we include girls, the extent to which we include children with disabilities play a very important role in making sure that we address the climate crisis head on. Now, there is a very long list of rights that are compromised as a result of the climate crisis. The point about violence against children was mentioned. We can talk about migration. We can talk about its link to armed conflict. We can talk about the right to food. The World Food Programme is talking about taking food from the hungry to feed the starving. That gives you a signal of the challenge that we're actually facing as the international community. One critical word in terms of terminology is the notion that says climate crisis, the emphasis on crisis. We're not making an urgency on our side, an emergency on the side of the states. That's the notion that is reflected in the general comment and the recommendations that are provided to states to undertake with a view to address the climate crisis as an urgent political, social, economic, and legal issue is communicated. Now, let me come to a couple of points. We often talk about the role that religious groups, faith-based organizations, faith-based groups actually play in addressing children's rights. For me, it's almost straightforward. It's more of like saying, if A is equal to B, like if the climate crisis is a child rights crisis, and we know faith-based communities and organizations are critical stakeholders in children's rights, it's more of like saying, if A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then A is equal to C, because faith-based organizations, faith-based communities play a very significant role in addressing the climate crisis. Now, there is little to no room to quibble with the fact that global warming is human-induced, but in some quarters, there are still naysayers, there are still the doubters. The role that faith and religion plays in addressing that is absolutely critical. Faith-based organizations play an important role in the education sector. What is the extent to which climate change-related issues are included in the curriculum? Not just only that, but also how are children being educated to make lifestyle change that will help to bring about sustainable development in all core corners of the world. There is a climate change statement from world religions, from Baha'i, Buddhism, Christianity, Eastern Orthodox, Protestant denominations, Roman Catholic, Hinduism, indigenous religions, Islam, Jainism. The list is long. It underscores messages like how world leaders need to cooperate with compassion and wisdom and reach an ambitious and effective climate actions in the different jurisdictions, how equality is important, how justice, particularly climate justice, should be at its center. And I want to end something that is something that I know very closely while on the topic of equality. Obviously, it should be at the center of the conversation about climate change and children's rights. And in fact, in October 2023, 8 years after releasing his landmark letter on humanity's obligation to protect environment and the encyclical Laudato Si, Pope Francis actually released an update. In his new urgent appeal called Laudate Diem, the Pope poses very critical question. This is what I find interesting, but many others also exist. And he asks, how can we forget that Africa, home to more than half of the world's poorest people, is responsible for a minimal portion of historic emissions? End of quote. So the justice issue and how religious leaders and faith-based organizations play a critical role can actually be understood as an example with the one that I shared from the Holy Father. We want to ask all stakeholders to promote the general comment, to translate it into local languages, to use it as a reference point to help us create a world that is fit for children. Let me stop here and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. As you were speaking, it struck me the role of the General Comment 26 process as an intergenerational dialogue, bringing children, faith-based organizations, civil society, governments together to put out this comment. What a beautiful process that reflects the importance of and connectivity between child rights and the climate crisis. Education, the role of values. There's so much in there to unpack and discuss. We are now moving to Ms. Lauren Van Ham, who is the Climate Action Coordinator at United Religions Initiative, with a focus on eco-ministry, grief and loss, and sacred activism. She's a writer, a spiritual director, and guest faculty at several schools in the San Francisco Bay Area. And the question for Ms. Van Ham is, how can integrating climate action into the 2030 agenda accelerate progress towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals? And what can faith actors do to raise awareness and support concrete actions that contribute to the 2030 agenda? Over to you.
Thank you, Andrea. I am not able to turn on my video. I'm getting a prompt about that. While that issue is being fixed, I will just thank Arigato and partners to be with you on this World Day of Prayer and Action for Children. In case URI is new to you, we're an international interfaith organization with over 1,000 grassroots groups around the world called Cooperation Circles. And I will be sharing a few photos from the work that they are doing in my presentation now. I've been asked to address two questions today. The first question is, how can integrating climate action into the 2030 agenda accelerate progress toward achieving the Sustainable Development Goals? And what can faith actors do to raise awareness and support concrete actions that contribute to the 2030 agenda? Well, the climate crisis, as we know, has become this catch-all phrase that, in addition to increased carbon emissions, also points to pollution and ecosystems degradation and a loss of biodiversity. And all of these things combined, of course, create this cascade of crises connected to healthcare and economies and so forth. One of the most intriguing and challenging aspects of the SDGs is the way that most of the 17 goals are interrelated. So in essence, we have an interrelated vision for meeting an interrelated crisis. An example of this is that there is plenty of data and lived experience that illustrates when women farmers are encouraged to thrive by using regenerative farming practices, that the land is healthier, there is less hunger, and the local economy is stronger. In an example such as this, we readily appreciate how sequestering carbon in the soil, protecting our water, and caring for plants is akin to caring for humans. So then, in the ways that we can continue to uplift the interrelated successes of caring for Earth and caring for people, we are also insisting that the 2030 agenda weaves together these interdependencies. We can't attain the agenda by focusing solely on economic growth, for example. On the contrary, we must devote ourselves to practicing solutions where the health of the planet provides greater health for the humans and vice versa. The second question, what can faith actors do to raise awareness and support concrete actions that contribute to the 2030 agenda? Well, first, faith actors need to continue to educate others about the interrelatedness of our moment. We've heard a lot about this today already. And we do this really well when we remember our core teachings as people of faith. Justice and care for the vulnerable, for example, stewardship, caretaking, the rights of nature. These teachings appear throughout the world's religions and indigenous teachings. Our scriptures, our sacred teachings remind us that intergenerational equity is a sacred act. Recognizing the divine and inherent value in all beings is a sacred act. The numbers on this slide reveal the potency and the influence of faith actors. Another thing that is very important is interreligious collaboration. This is a big deal when we see how much work we have to do in the peace building space. Every being is invited to this moment. We need everyone's gifts, each person's insights, so that we might innovate mindfully and creatively. Interreligious collaborations illustrate not only work among diverse faiths, but also with those who are most often diminished by the dominant system. This means children, women, indigenous, the differently abled, and so forth. We've heard today, we know that when we work across our perceived differences, we learn things and we widen our collective reach. This kind of cooperation helps us better appreciate that we are more resilient when we take action together to care for the things that we all care about: our water, our land, our air, our children, and so forth. And the photos here remind us that there are many ways that we can take action together. Our actions inspire others to begin meaningful work where they live. It's contagious. If you have a local success or an active project that you would like to share, I hope you will add it to the growing database that is recording faith-based climate efforts around the world. It's at this website here. I extend to us now prayers of peace, protection, health, and wholeness for all. May beauty and goodness and well-being ripple out to us today in all directions, filling those of us who have the ability to act to ensure a safe and regenerated world for generations to come. May it be so.
May it be so. What a great call to action in terms of a reminder to share what's working and share these great examples. Maybe we can ask you to drop that link also into the chat. We can share it with participants as well. With that, we're going to transition to hear from Dr. Kathleen Rutledge, a consultant and lecturer in mental health and psychosocial support, project design and management at the Institute for Global Health and Development at Queen Margaret University in Scotland. She is a specialist in multi-sectoral program design and leadership in fragile contexts with a focus on MHPSS among displaced and disaster-affected children, youth, and adults. Dr. Rutledge, the question for you today is, how can faith actors contribute to improve mental health and psychosocial support approaches to climate justice initiatives that address the spiritual, emotional, and psychological needs of children on the move in particular? And how does this contribute to ensuring their well-being and resilience building in the face of forced displacement? Over to you.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I think you heard the figure earlier that due to climate-related events, weather-related disasters, 20,000 children have displaced every day over the past 6 years. So that's an incredibly high figure, and you can imagine the types of things that impact the children. In the short term, obviously, there's the challenge of being disconnected from loved ones, and those who are exposed to other types of trauma, the losses of other of loved ones, the being homeless, being in danger, being in transit, struggling with asylum. There's a lot of evidence that shows that the short-term impacts of this on children's mental health is in higher levels of depression, higher levels of post-traumatic stress disorder, and anxiety as well. If this type of thing persists, and as often does in displaced populations that spend months and years dislocated from their home, from their way of life that they grew up with, this can lead to actually toxic and accumulated stress that builds up in their systems and can actually lead to permanent, lifelong challenges related to educational outcomes, recurring illness, poor relationships, behavioral problems. So a lot of significant issues can be affected by displacement, and as we know, displacement is increasing because of the climate issues that people are facing. Now, there is good news in this, though, and it goes back to the question about what faith actors can do. And the great news is that faith actors and others can do a lot of good to mitigate these long-term effects. And because as much evidence as there is research evidence showing the negative impacts, there is as much showing that if children and youth who are displaced actually receive support that is culturally appropriate and addresses spiritual needs as well, that this can actually improve their physical and their mental health. So both, not just their mental health, but both, over time, and mitigate a lot of those types of negative impacts. And for many of the population, as you all know better than most, for most of the world, faith beliefs are powerful, life-shaping, and are very important. And so there, 4 out of 5 of children and youth in the world have these belief systems. And so part of what I want to just briefly touch on and what faith actors can do is, when we're talking about engaging with and supporting displaced children, we're not talking here about just supporting those children with mental illness, those that are showing signs of depression or anxiety, PTSD, because more broadly than that, what the best practices are, they include for all who are displaced, helping to normalize their routines, helping to restore social connections that are important to them, helping to have access to spaces and people and practices that were meaningful to them prior to displacement. And based on what we've just talked about, for many of children and youth, this includes faith. And so what faith, if we do these types of things, this type of normalization has a powerful, a potent impact on helping children to be able to cope and to helping them have resilience in amidst the displacement and not go on to have the mental illness that I was talking about. So just briefly, what this entails is essentially, it starts with the assessments, and it starts with making sure that when we're seeking to work with children who are displaced, that we're asking them, what do you want? What language of faith do you want or not? And I also mean indigenous, so it could be indigenous languages, indigenous traditions, indigenous foods, indigenous spaces, persons, or faith leaders, spaces, persons do you want as a part of your care? And obviously respecting and protecting the right for them to say none, but equally respecting the right and protecting their right to say, I would like this, and actually celebrating this tradition and this holiday is important to me, and actually having access to this space is important. So there's a lot we can do just in that simple thing of asking. And unfortunately, in many of our responses, including those of us who've worked for faith-based agencies, we don't ask initially. We don't ask them exactly what you want and what you don't want, because we didn't recognize the degree to which these supports are actually among the most powerful and potent, positive resources that we can provide for them. Last thing, just to say, and I think the speakers earlier, the youth that spoke were powerful in just demonstrating this point that it's obviously not just about adults providing to children and youth, but that a key powerful aspect of recovery and resilience promotion is the peer-to-peer support. So engaging youth and children to not only say this is what I want, but then also to be a part of leading it and supporting each other, because these are the networks and these are the connections that many of them would have had at home. And some of those would have been related to in the faith context or an indigenous context. And so it's about really engaging that participation. I'm going to put an email in the chat box. Essentially, we've just there's a new policy brief coming that we've got a webinar to introduce in the next week or so that shares a bit more detail on how faith actors can engage and how non-faith-based actors can also engage, that I'm happy to share with those who'd be interested. I'm just putting my email in the chat box for that if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rutledge. I think the engagement of children together is both, I love how you highlighted it's both powerful internally, and we know it's powerful externally. Even just having heard the young leaders earlier sharing with us how they're learning together is inspiring this global action that encourages us all. With that, we're going to transition to Professor Anand Rambishan, who is an emeritus professor of religion at St. Olaf College in Minnesota. He's been involved in interreligious relations and dialogue for over 25 years. active in the dialogue programs of the World Council of Churches, as well as involved in the consultations of the Pontifical Council for Interreligious Dialogue at the Vatican, and he served as co-president of Religions for Peace. And he is there in the room in Mumbai now. So our question for you today is, how do education and climate justice intersect? How could faith communities contribute to comprehensive climate education efforts that not only raise awareness about the facts of the climate crisis, but also foster values, ethics, and a sense of responsibility and stewardship for our planet? Over to you.
Thank you very much, Andrea, and greetings, friends. I think that it's obvious that there's a lot of consensus emerging both from the young people who have spoken and from those on our panel about the role of faith actors in the matter of education and climate justice. One of the most famous prayers in Hinduism, recited often in temples and homes, begins with the line, "Lead us from untruth to truth." Religions value truth, and every religious tradition has ethical teachings that commend truth-telling over untruth. Every historical era has its untruths from which we must be free, because untruths are dangerous, very dangerous, and consequential, and sometimes life-threatening. And today, the untruths that imperil our lives and the lives of our children are many. We saw recently how untruths about COVID-19 vaccines, for example, threaten the successes of vaccination programs in places where the needs were greatest. And similarly, untruths about climate change endanger the sustainability of our planet as a home for us all. The biophysical processes necessary to maintaining the vitality of our planet continue to be compromised by human activity, and yet untruths persist. Too many still deny the reality of climate change, even in the face of formidable scientific evidence. When untruths are told, and when living beings suffer, religious voices cannot be silent. They must be the first to speak out. And I think that in the matter of education and climate justice and moral and ethical values, religious traditions have a very important and special role to play for a number of reasons. As some of my fellow panelists have already mentioned, our religious traditions have an ancient role as teachers and educators. They are among the first to establish schools and centers of learning, as gurus, as rabbis, as imams, as pastors, as priests and monks. Religious communities are teachers of the wisdom and ethical obligations of our traditions. And today, across the world, religions are associated with a vast network of educational institutions that must become sources of teaching in our communities about climate change and the changes that are necessary to combat its effects and to promote planetary sustainability. Secondly, the reality of climate change is not just a scientific fact, but a moral one as well. The effects of climate change are greater on poorer and more vulnerable communities around the world. These communities need more support in combating the effects of climate change caused in a significant way by the wealthier nations. And we have heard about Africa and how little emissions come from that continent. Religious traditions are sources of moral and ethical values, and religious leaders still enjoy moral authority. This authority has to be used to speak on behalf of the justice for those who are the victims of climate change and to commend those core ethical and moral principles that are necessary to reverse climate change. Thirdly, religious traditions have vast outreach and networks, sometimes exceeding the reach of the state or other non-governmental organizations. 84% of the world's population identifies itself as affiliated with a religion. This outreach is a significant resource in raising awareness about the facts of our climate crisis and in promoting the ethical values that support sustainability. And finally, communities around our world are growing in religious diversity. Our shared commitment to truth-telling and to overcoming suffering is a great common shared space for our traditions to work together interreligiously to educate about climate change, to speak together for disadvantaged communities, and to promote the values that lead to the well-being of our planet. Religious communities have the opportunity to learn from each other, to work together, and to build mutual cooperation around climate change. Our traditions cannot opt for indifference, for silence, or for inaction in the face of this global challenge. Our commitment to truth, our commitment to overcoming human suffering requires us to work together towards this common human good. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you. And what a powerful call to what you called not just a scientific fact, but a moral one, and our shared commitment to truth-telling and overcoming suffering. What can we do together to foster those things in this world? I would like to give Fode or any of the child activists an opportunity to come in here. Most were involved in the General Comment 26 consultations. So if you want to speak to that or any responses to the speakers so far.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Andrea. So I'm the one taking this intervention. Faith leaders, of course, Your Excellencies, and diplomats, delegates, and all other protocols observed. I hope you're not yet tired of seeing me. So, so first of all, before I start my brief statement, I want to ask us all in our faith to have a minute of silence prayer for the children that are going through that have seen the impact of negative impact of climate change, and of course, and those children that are suffering through the different global conflicts that are happening now. So a minute of silence, please. Thank you very much. May the souls of those kids who passed away be blessed, and may the conflict be resolved for those who remain. So, the general comment, first of all, I say, to me personally, it's something that adds values to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. The reason I say so is because there was a time I had a privileged conversation with one of the committee members, Professor Philip Jaffe. And then I looked at him, I told him, I said, Professor Jaffe, I've read the convention for the last 8 years of my life, and I feel like the convention is not complete. It's incomplete. And he was saying, what do you mean? What do you think is? I said, the convention does not speak the value of children's rights when it comes to issues of the environment and climate change. And then from that conversation, it sparked and said, yes, Fode, I think so, I agree. And don't worry, the committee is taking action. We are currently working on the General Comment 26 on children's rights and the environment with a special focus on climate change. And I said, yeah, I think that's really necessary. So today, world leaders and religious faith leaders, we sit in this global virtual space to discuss children's rights, and of course, as stated in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, but specifically for me to give intervention on the newly launched General Comment 26 on children's rights and the environment, with a special focus, of course, on climate change. Having spent the last 8 years of my childhood as a child rights advocate, and having read all the children's rights legislation, legal frameworks, convention, charters, and strategies with specific purpose on children's rights, which include the Convention on the Rights of the Child, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, the African Union 10 Aspirations in the Agenda 2040, and etc. The convention, as we know, of course, is made up of 4 principles by which it stands. And the first one is the right to survival, which is very key and related to the General Comment 26. The second one is the right to protection. The third one is the right to development. And the fourth and final pillar is the right to participation, which several speakers have repeatedly spoken about. The General Comment 26 is a unique children's rights document because it supports the Convention on the Rights of the Child and its 54 articles that did not recognize children's environmental rights specifically. These authoritative guidance on how children's rights are impacted by the environmental crisis and what must be done by governments to uphold these rights to ensure that children live in a clean, healthy, and sustainable world. But this not just government, but including for interreligious leaders and all state parties. As a child advocate, I see the General Comment complement the efforts children with climate knowledge are using to take action since the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, also known as the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, when a 13-year-old girl and her peers raised money for themselves to travel 6,000 miles so they can be heard. Since then, so many children have stood up, speak up, and raised awareness, designed and implemented projects from small, medium, and large-scale impact measured in co-creating a climate mitigative, adaptive, and resilient solution to the climate emergency we are facing. The climate change crisis is more serious now than ever, and children are putting a lot of effort to make sure we contribute to the discussions, negotiations, and solutions. Within the last 3 months, I've worked with peers and we've been able to do extremely crucial work in influencing climate financing for children and the global south. In June, of course, I worked with 4 children. We participated and wrote a children's declaration appeal on the new Global Financial Pact that was called for by His Excellency President Macron of France. And thanks to the support of Jesuits and of course, World Council of Churches, we are represented, and through one of our colleagues, we presented this declaration appeal to President Macron and the Managing Director of International Monetary Funds and the Chairman of the African Union Commission. And of course, recently, one of my colleagues mentioned it in the panel discussion, Eliane. We worked with 15 other peers, myself and Eliane, including, that makes us 17. We planned, we coordinated, and we initiated the first ever child-led Global Children's Climate Summit, and we developed an outcome statement to influence, of course, the concluded Africa Climate Summit, and of course, the concluded UNGA 78, and we look forward to influence the forthcoming COP28. Ladies and gentlemen, I know many of you are aware of this initiative children have led and are leading. I'm stating them to reassure you all that children are taking actions and are committed to taking more actions as long as children are provided the platforms, the opportunities, and support we require in co-creating a better and safer planet for the prosperity of our existence. As I conclude, we don't want our participation to be like the theory I created, which is climate tourism, which means people using climate events to tour the world. But we want to contribute actively in designing, implementing, and even evaluating of programs that has to do with children's rights, climate change, and development. After all, the future adults are discussing is ours. I'll conclude with a statement from a peer who said, and I quote, "Do not feel for us, include us. The future we are discussing is ours." And today, I thank the organizers, and first of all, I thank the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child for actively and of course focusing on making sure that over 16,000 children contributed to advice in the consultation processes of forming and creating the General Comment 26. and not just the children, but I also want to thank the external experts, the civil society and partners organization that also contributed towards making sure we have this document that is protecting our future. And today, I feel privileged to thank Arigato International and, of course, World Council of Churches, who personally sent me an invitation to be part of this particular session to contribute immensely towards the great, this important discussion that we are having for our future. I thank you very much. Back to Madam Andrea.
Thank you so much. I think do not fear for us, include us. It's something I'm going to be thinking about and repeating to myself and to my colleagues for days and the days and weeks ahead. With that, we are going to transition to hear from Reverend Fred Nayabara, the director of Arigato International End Child Poverty Initiative, which is a multi-faith child-centered global initiative of Arigato International that mobilizes faith-inspired resources to end child poverty. The question for you, Reverend Fred, is how can faith actors and religious communities contribute to addressing the interlinked challenges of child poverty and climate justice, particularly in regions, as we've heard about today, where children are disproportionately affected by both environmental and economic vulnerabilities, and what ethical frameworks can guide these efforts? Over to you.
Thank you very much, Andrea, and good evening, everybody. With the time given to me for the, let me say it's good to see you again, and it's good to see the familiar faces on the screen. With the time given to me, I'll just share three things. One is the intersection of child poverty and climate justice. And then I will share 4 ethical values that could guide faith-based efforts. And then I'll end by sharing 4 strategies for effective engagement. And to begin, I think the faith communities and faith actors need to grasp the critical intersection of child poverty and climate justice. Because we know that in disadvantaged communities, children often face stark realities. They lack access to basic necessities such as clean water, food, healthcare, and the list goes on. And these deprivations not only limit their opportunities, but also make them highly vulnerable to the adverse effects of climate change, including extreme weather events and resource scarcity. In a sense, poverty intensifies the exposure to environment risks that have been mentioned here by the earlier speakers. But conversely, climate change also exacerbates the challenges faced by children in deprived communities. We know that the increasing frequency and severity of climate-related disasters displace families, they destroy livelihoods, and they disrupt access to education and healthcare. And this vicious cycle deepens child poverty, perpetuating a cycle of deprivation that limits the well-being and opportunity of these young lives. But importantly, we must recognize that this cycle affects not just this generation, but future ones too, adding to the urgency of our call to action. For our children should inherit a healthy planet and not the burden of poverty. It's a vicious cycle that's passed on to the next generation, and it's very expensive. If we don't do something now, we'll pay greatly. Let me then move on to my second point, which is what I would call an ethical framework that could guide the faith-based efforts. And in our journey towards addressing the intersection of, it is imperative that we ground our efforts in ethical frameworks deeply rooted in our faith tradition. Because I've realized that many times if the faith communities and faith actors are not motivated and convicted and are not grounded in some values, most likely they will not move. And I would just like to share 4 ethical values. One, we must uphold the human dignity. We must uphold the inherent dignity of every child, recognizing their right to clean and sustainable environment free from scourge of poverty. Most of our sacred texts and teachings uphold human dignity, and it remains a fundamental ethical principle that calls us to protect and nurture the dignity of all child. The second ethical value that I'd like to recommend is embracing stewardship. Because most of our faith traditions emphasize stewardship, where humanity is entrusted with the care of the earth. So as faith actors, we should integrate this concept into our actions, guiding our efforts towards responsible environment management. In a sense, what I'm saying is that we need to consider developing and upholding eco-theology. We need to think about that. And thirdly, we need to prioritize social justice. Faith-based organizations should prioritize social justice because our mission should extend beyond just charity to address systematic factors that perpetuate child poverty, environmental degradation, and other vices that come with that. We must advocate for equitable resource distribution. And I believe that climate justice means ensuring that most vulnerable, including children living in poverty, are not left behind. And then fourthly, practicing compassion and solidarity. We must embody compassion for suffering children and solidarity with vulnerable communities. Our action should reflect not only our heads and hands, but also our hearts. There's a verse in my faith tradition that says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your strength. As faith community, we must love, we must engage our heads, we must be very knowledgeable, we must act using our hands, but we must not leave our hearts behind. We must engage also our hearts. Lastly, let me quickly share about 4 strategies for effective engagement that I would like to recommend. There are many, but one of them is just advocacy for both policy and social change, whereby faith communities need to engage and use their moral authority for this advocacy. And we must engage governments, international organizations, and society to drive this change. Secondly, educational and awareness. A lot has been said about it, and Professor Nand talked about it. But I want to say that there should be an awareness and engagement that, as Fode has reminded us, include children. And therefore, we need to come up with children-friendly environment where children are driving the awareness, and they have safe spaces where they can also engage in their own education, but also creating awareness widely. Thirdly, ethical leadership is very important. Ethical leadership within faith community is crucial for fostering change. I believe that leaders should serve as a role model, guiding their congregations for responsible environmental practices and compassionate social action. What I'm saying is that we must lead by practice as faith communities, because the young people look unto us and they are able to tell when we are faking it. And lastly, cross-sectoral collaboration, and I think one of the former speakers or previous speakers mentioned this, collaboration across sectors such as education, healthcare, agriculture, disaster relief, and environmental protection is essential to our journey. Faith actors should actively seek partnerships with governments and religious organizations to create holistic solutions that address the root causes of child poverty and climate injustice that contribute to the breaking cycle of child poverty and advancing climate justice. You've heard of that proverb from Africa: if you want to walk fast, you walk alone. But if you want to go far, you walk with others. We cannot do it alone. Children in poverty are among the most affected by climate change. True justice means shielding them from its harshest impacts. In the words of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, we can only do our little bits of good where we are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that encouraging message and a reminder, use our head, our hands, and our hearts as we go about this work. As well as I appreciated the connection to what Professor Anand was saying about truth telling, and how children and youth can tell when we're not telling the truth, when we don't mean it. And so as we move forward, I want to invite Frederic Seidel to the panel. She is a senior leader in child rights, climate solutions, and peace building at the World Council of Churches. Her initiative for climate justice for and with children and youth was awarded the Keeling Curve Prize in 2019. She has been doing this work that we are talking about today for a long time, this intergenerational work. So with that, the question we have for you today is, how does the proliferation of climate crisis misinformation contribute to various forms of violence against children? And in what ways can we address the spread of misinformation effectively, considering its impact on public perceptions, policymaking, and social development? Over to you, Frederique.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And before I start, I would like to share with you here the back of the cartoon Lucky Luke. What does Lucky Luke hold in his mouth? A twig, right, a twig. Do any adults here remember what Lucky Luke used to hold in his mouth? While you think about it, I'm going to share my screen and go to
Frederique, your sound is muted.
And muted. Okay, I'm going to try again. Can you see my screen now? Yes, it was a cigarette, indeed. In 1983, the tobacco industry was held accountable for the harms caused to people's health through disinformation. The infiltration of media and education, downplaying the harms of the cigarettes, has become illegal. Unfortunately, the same has not yet happened for the sophisticated marketing by industries which are most responsible for the CO2 emissions, accelerating global warming. When the Church's commitments to children were launched in 2017, it was the children consulted across the world who urged us at the World Council of Churches to make intergenerational climate justice a central pillar. Just a quick recap. World Council of Churches represents about 500 million Christians through churches in 120 countries. And in partnership with UNICEF, we held consultations with children, churches, and child rights experts on the question, how can we, as faith-based actors, best use our influence to improve children's lives? And the outcome is a program with 3 pillars: child protection, child participation, and climate justice. How many of us know someone who still does not believe that the ongoing increase of CO2 emissions is caused by human activity as a key root cause? Well, personally, I learned about it from my church and from Friends of the Earth in the 1980s, when I was 16. We organized flash mobs and distributed bananas grown in Germany to alert people about the need to change systems to halt CO2 emissions. Little did I knew that since I was born in the 70s, fossil fuel companies were paying communication specialists to play down the scientific consensus on global warming and promoting uncertainty and doubt about it. Naomi Oreskos, a professor at Harvard and author of the famous book Merchants of Doubts, explains, for already several decades, the industry of fossil fuel tries to undermine the understanding of scientific evidence on the causes of global warming and their lethal consequences. In fact, over 75% of CO2 emissions come from fossil fuel industry, as documented by the International Energy Agency. We need to reassure children that adults are doing all they can to halt the life-threatening continued increase of CO2 emissions. But new disinformation campaigns are spreading, and marketing campaigns continue growing the demand for fossil fuels. United Nations General Secretary Antonio Guterres said in Davos in January this year, like the tobacco industry, those responsible for disinformation and global warming must be held to account. Stopping disinformation about global warming is about saving children's lives. And so the World Council of Churches is engaged in two strategies to address this in the children's program. The first one was developed with the Muslim Council of Elders and the New York Board of Rabbis and UNEP. Climate responsible finance, a moral imperative towards children, urging our own financial service providers to align with the Paris Agreement. And Antonio Guterres was very clear in his support to the launch. He said, I call on all financial service providers to abandon fossil fuel and invest in renewable energy. Like Yael said earlier among the children, every organization has to take their responsibility. We therefore developed the Save Children's Lives Climate Responsible Banking Survival Guide. Many people in decision-making seats are victims of disinformation and global warming. They do not intend to harm children. And by engaging with our banks and pension funds, we can help billions of young people worldwide to lift a far too heavy burden from their shoulders. The second avenue is to promote hope for children through legal efforts. Brave children from churches are engaged in lawsuits to stop the consequences of disinformation. Here you see, for example, Kiran Omen from the United Church of Christ in the US, who was a key plaintiff in the Juliana versus US lawsuit. And we've seen earlier this year the very brave children from Montana who had a big breakthrough, as well as Portuguese children who went to the EU Human Rights Court. And just a few weeks ago, on 9th of November, Honolulu's lawsuit to stop the oil industry's practice of misinformation was a major breakthrough. As underlined by the judge of the Supreme Court, Mark Rechtenwald, this trial aims to contest the promotion and sale of products based on fossil fuels without warning consumers on the consequences. And yes, the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child General Comment 26 is giving immense hope as it represents authoritative guidance on climate and children. Same for the ecocide law. And faith actors are helping a lot in that. In fact, last week they launched, also there was a launch of a fantastic book on ecocide law and rights of the child. But we know that these processes are taking too long. So that's why in 2024, support for churches to use the law for the protection of children will be a priority for the World Council of Churches' Commitments to Children program. Your faith plays a crucial role to ensure that we meet the small window of time, which according to IPCC we have to halt the continuing increase of CO2 emissions. Let us know if you wish to join these efforts. Because speaking the truth to powers, as underlined by Professor Rambachan, is essential also for the spiritual accompaniment to ensure solid hope for children. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Frederique. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all of the panelists for their tremendous inputs, their incredible thought-provoking reflections, highlighting the incredible intersectionality, the role of children, the importance of child participation, and the opportunities and calls to action in various ways to each of us, to our faith communities, to our institutions. With that, I want to hand back to Rebecca to continue the program. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. An applause for the panel's speakers. That was excellent. And we are recording this program today to make it available for many others who will like to hear this, because it has provided a wealth of information. Thank you all. And thank you, Andrea, for an excellent job as moderator. Now we'd like to turn this over because it's getting late and we are very excited about the next session where we're going to be announcing the Wear My Shoes Awards. And we're going to hear from the winners of the Wear My Shoes Award. And to do this, we've invited Ms. Dana Humeid, who is Chief Executive of the Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities. And we're very, very pleased that she's here, as the Interfaith Alliance has made this possible to continue with the Wear My Shoes Award in its third year. So over to you, Dana. Welcome. Oh, there you are. Good to see you.
Hello,
Good to-
Rebecca. Hello, my love. Hi, everybody. Dear friends, children and adults, I'm so happy to be with you online, but so sorry I couldn't be there in person. The Wear My Shoes Award was jointly established by the Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities, Arigato International, and UNICEF. And it was launched at Abu Dhabi Expo 2020, Dubai Expo 2020. We are honored to be collaborating with Arigato International as always and sponsoring the award now in its third edition. The award aims to recognize organizations working at the grassroots around the world to help one of the most vulnerable societies, children. The award focuses on the most pressing issues being faced by children. So the first edition of the award was on the theme Back to School, focusing on the impact of COVID on the education and children. And the second edition of the award was on Children on the Move, which looked at the impact of conflict and displacement on children. But this year's award, as we all know, is focused on the impact of climate change on children and their rights. So before we begin, we will play a short video to tell you more about this year's award.
Okay. وأنت نوريتش.
Dad, what was the world like when you were a child?
When I was a child, the earth looked very different. There were vast forests, clean rivers, and lots of animals roaming freely. But over the years, things changed and the earth started getting sick because we weren't taking good care of it. But you know what gives me hope. You and your generation, you all have the power to make a difference.
Well, Dad, today at school I learned that almost half of all the children in the world, that's 2.2 billion children, live in 33 countries that are in really big danger because of climate change. Isn't that worrying? Climate change makes problems worse for children. It worsens poverty, displacement, and lack of education, leading to more violence against children. We must protect the planet to keep children safe and happy. But we need your help. Climate justice means being fair and kind to everyone on our planet, just like we treat our friends. It's about making sure everyone has a chance to enjoy the Earth together. Even before 196 parties agreed to help our planet in a big meeting called the Paris Agreement, many faith communities and faith-based organizations were already working to take care of the Earth. They believe it's their responsibility to protect and look after our planet, to ensure a better future for next generations and children around the world. Isn't that great? Knowing about climate change is crucial, just like understanding how important it is to respect nature and have strong values that connect generations. It's not just about understanding. It's about caring for our environment and being fair to future generations. We should stand up for children, especially those who are most at risk. and make choices that help them in the face of climate challenges. The time is now, and every action counts.
Es un honor recibir el premio Wear My Shoes Award 2023. Las nuevas generaciones estamos comprometidas con un futuro sostenible y continuaremos trabajando arduamente para marcar la diferencia.
We accept this honor with deep appreciation. The biggest honors goes to Global Network of Leaders for Children, institutions, and individuals working to better the lives of children.
It's a great honor for me to receive this award in the name of all children and teachers who were part of our pilot project, Protecting Our Planet, We Protect Our Rights.
This award significantly boosts our commitment to tackling the pressure using plastic and garbage pollution in our seas.
On behalf of Montfleury Secondary School, Seychelles, we are delighted to accept the Wear My Shoes Award.
Are you willing to wear my shoes and be part of the change?
I would like to invite the winner of last year's award, Child Actions Lanka, who will be represented by Shamindri Wicheskare, the center coordinator. The floor is yours, my love.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and hello to everyone. So I'm from Child Action Lanka, and we work with street-connected communities and health-deserving communities in the Kandy city, which is located around the Central Highlands of Sri Lanka. So in 2020, during the pandemic, and the government of Sri Lanka declared its official lockdown, the first lockdown, and this really impacted the communities that we were catering for because they were and they were find temporary shelter to a certain extent. So the government also non-development centers. So because of that, we were not able to communities. So ensure that our children were safe and protected. So that's when we tailor-made this project, actually, go and visit the houses of these communities. So we visited around 580 households, and we were successful to, we were able to identify more than 10 children who were at a very high risk of being exposed to life-threatening situations such as exploitation, sexual harassment, and also we were able to identify children who were at who had very serious medical conditions and they were being neglected. So we provided them immediate residential care. We provided 12 children residential care. So this was actually a life-transforming milestone for the children because they were sleeping around the Kandy city, and some of them, they just only had one meal per day. So now they are living a very common and medical facilities, be mentally and physically fit, and medical treatments as well. Also, we have been able to create a long-term tailor-made plan for each child. So with the contributions that we have received from Arigato International, the Wear My Shoes Award, we've been able to expand and continue this project. So we have been able to shift to a new facility, a new location, which is very much spacious and child-friendly for the children. Also, from the contributions that we received from this award, we've been able to really provide English education in private schools for children. Also, with the contributions, we've been able to really furnish and equip the classrooms of our Child Development Center by introducing the dawn of new technologies, by teaching the students with new electronic items. So we are immensely grateful for the contributions that we received from Arigato International to the Wear My Shoes award because we have been able to add so much of value to the lives of the children in terms of education, nutrition, and protection. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, my love, Shamindri. And it's absolutely incredible to hear the updates from your end. It makes us all so happy here. This year, we received 52 applications from across the world. After a thorough evaluation process, we are pleased to formally welcome and honor the winners. I know we've seen the winners in the video, but this is an opportunity to speak to each and every one of them. From Colombia, I'm pleased to welcome Helping Our Planet Through Environmental Empowerment at School System, represented by Miss Melanie Sanchos, Director of the Youth Human Rights Network. The floor is yours, my love, if you want to say a few words. Miss Melanie.
Sí. Buenos días.
Yes, we can hear you.
Por favor, necesito un traductor, es que no sé hablar inglés.
Sí, no te preocupes, puedes hablar que entra la traducción.
Listo. Bueno, primero que todo, buenos días, distinguidos invitados. Hoy en el Día Mundial de Oración y Acción por la Niñez 2023, es para mí un honor recibir el premio Wear My Shoes Award 2023 de Arigato International Prayer and Action for Children. Este reconocimiento envía un poderoso mensaje a los jóvenes de todo el mundo.
Is that the remarks from Miss Melanie? Okay, so
problemas. Dice, nuestro proyecto, ayudando a nuestro planeta a través del empoderamiento ambiental en el sistema escolar, teniendo como objetivo hacer precisamente eso, empoderar a los niños y jóvenes para que se conviertan en los líderes ambientales desde hoy, pensando en mañana. A través de la educación, les brindamos las herramientas para comprender los complejos desafíos climáticos que enfrenta nuestro planeta. Pero más que solo informar, buscamos inspirar la acción. Nuestro programa de becas abre las puertas a oportunidades educativas para que destacados estudiantes puedan especializarse en temas ambientales y liderar proyectos de conservación. En pocas palabras, plantamos la semilla del activismo climático infantil y juvenil, y con la ayuda de este generoso premio, podremos regar esa semilla para que florezca y den fruto. Los fondos recibidos nos permitirán expandir el alcance de nuestro programa educativo, llegando a más escuelas y comunidades. Podremos ofrecer más becas para estudios ambientales, formando líderes excepcionales. También fortaleceremos nuestros esfuerzos de incidencia, trabajando de la mano con gobiernos locales para implementar políticas que protejan el medio ambiente y empoderen a la juventud. Este premio, Wear My Shoes, es un reconocimiento a su visión y su voz, y nos comprometemos a amplificar esa voz para que resuene fuerte y claro. El planeta nos necesita, juntos podemos y debemos tomar acción. Desde lo más profundo de mi corazón, muchas gracias. Que este sea solo el comienzo de una nueva era de activismo climático juvenil. El cambio comienza hoy. Muchas gracias.
Okay, so I think I'm so sorry, I don't speak Spanish. So I think this is the end of the remarks from Miss Melanie, the winner, the representative of the winner of the first place. My understanding is that our friend from the Children Climate Artist Project from Cameroon are not presented today with us online, but nevertheless, we send them our congratulations and our love and our how impressed we are with their participation. Our next winner is Protecting Our Planet. We Protect Our Rights, Information, Motivation, Action from Romania, represented today by Ms. Laura Molnar, the President of Education for Change Association. Ms. Laura, my love, the floor is yours for a few words.
Greetings from Bucharest, Romania. Thank you once again for this award in the name of all those involved in our project, Protecting Our Planet, We Protect Our Rights. We were so proud of the commitment children showed in their initiatives for a sustainable environment and child rights. That's why this award is for us also a big responsibility to continue to inspire and support their initiatives. Through the webinars we will organize next month, we will empower the students involved last year in the project to become mentors for their colleagues. In this way, we expect child-led actions in more schools and in more areas of the country. Climate change is an imperative issue, children being the most vulnerable, so it's our moral duty to involve them in the decision we take as equal partners. I'm glad to have here with me one of the students involved last year in our project. Sebastian, the floor is yours.
Hello. My colleagues and I were very happy to hear about this award. During this project, I understood that it is in our power to protect the nature, and I look forward to continue to do this in the future because I consider that all children deserve to live in a healthy environment. Thank you for your trust.
Thank you, Sebastian. And thank you so much, Miss Laura. We're very happy to hear from you. Before I move to the next winner, I hear that Cameroon are with us online. So the winner of the second place, the Children Climate Artist Project from Cameroon, Mr. Alexander, are you with us online? Mr. Alexander is the Executive Director of Community Green Engagement and National Coordinator, GNRC Cameroon. The floor is yours, Mr.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Accept warm greetings from Cameroon. It is with deep humility, honor, and excitement that I'm speaking before you today, celebrating this significant event and gratefully receiving the Wear My Shoes Award. My heartfelt appreciation goes out to all of you present here, representing institutions and individuals committed to enhancing the lives of children worldwide. Today, we are collectively contributing to building a generation where children are equally important stakeholders in addressing the various challenges they face. The Children Climate Artist Project is a virtual or an online platform where collectively we will be sharing the wonderful work being done by children, transforming the environment and returning our planet's vibrancy. The goal of this initiative is to unite children globally through art, foster inspiration to connect and act compassionately towards our environment. The art's work can be expressed through poetry, short stories, visual art, music, weaving, or sculptures. We believe that every child possesses an artistic spirit. For this reason, we avoid encouraging competition, opting instead that we provide each participating schools with trash can, an opportunity to create a tree nursery, a garden, or an apiary, or cultivate an orchard. This is an ongoing initiative that began in January and has already seen the establishment of a garden, a tree nursery in the school, several hundred tree seedlings distributed to children for planting at home, 56 environmental arts work displayed by children, and 2 cleanup campaigns within the community. Our vision is to engage 10 schools annually into environment arts work, is to plant 5,000 trees, create a garden or an orchard or an apiary in each of these schools, and form environmental clubs to cater for these activities. Picture a tree or a grove of trees in a community space, school, with children gathered around, united for a sustainable future. Climate change champions arming themselves with knowledge, actions, and brainstorming on ideas and innovation, and responsibility to ensure a better future and healthy planet. The anticipated outcome of these project initiatives are enhanced space for learning to live together, play and recreational space, increase in food production, improvement in health, the environment, and income. Why? Join us today, and together, let us continue to sow the seeds of a brighter future for our children and our planet. Thank you all so much. Hooray, hooray.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alexander, and for your inspirational participation and submission as well. So from the host of the city of this year's World Day for Prayer and Action, Mumbai, I'm pleased to present the award to Eco Warrior Bandstand Beach Cleaning at Bandra, represented by Miss Patricia Furtado, the trustee of St. Catherine of Siena School and Orphanage. Miss Patricia. Miss Patricia, are you connected?
I'll unmute. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, we can hear you, my love. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. With gratitude, I said, it is the music of my soul and the memory of the heart. I wish to play some of that music today as I thank God for all that is happening for St. Catherine of Siena and Orphanage. Do you want me to say something, dear?
We would love to hear a few words from you, Miss Patricia, about your submission.
Yes. Okay. Greetings from India, from St. Catherine's of Siena. I am Patricia, and I am just God's hands using for the poor children, to educate them. And I'm very honored to acknowledge such a prestigious award and to receive with the service for a powerful motivation for the ongoing environment initiative. Our mission at this home, this poor home, where is to provide a promising future for the children hailing from economic challenging backgrounds. Beyond academics teaching, we install core values such as cleanliness, honesty, cooperation, and responsibility, because they need to be responsible for the actions, values that transcend religion and social boundaries. Kids come from all faiths. This award significantly boosts our commitment of tackling the pressurizing issues of plastic, garbage, to clean the place, not that the seas should be, polluted, as fish are getting polluted and, they're dying. And most of our children live on the banks of the river and the banks of the sea. So, they are vulnerable to be throwing things because they have parents who are not educated. So that's the reason why we say that we are helping these kids to educate these kids. And of course, as I say, to help that the sea doesn't get polluted, because we have the Raven Sea right across our place where we live. We have the sea coast. And over the course of 10 Eco Warriors drives, we engage not only to students, but collaborating with all the neighboring schools and peer schools of, and to amplify and impact and planning additional Eco Warriors drives, accompanied by, the public educational campaign, also to posters and street theaters. We extend our heartful gratitude to the contribution and realization of our dreams. Our dream has come through. It's important to note that our students originally
from students coming from underprivileged families and often lack confidence. So this award empowers them to, to precise their efforts to do something. So we encourage families and to join us in spreading this message. But our gratitude to you all, and thank you very much. We are really privileged to have this great award. It's really huge for us. God bless you all.
Thank you, Ms. Patricia, and thank you. We are indeed the hand of God. And thank you for everything that you're doing for children. Thank you for your motivational words. Our final winner of this year's Wear My Shoes Award is the Montfleury Secondary School Protect from Children, represented by Miss Sandrine Valentin, the eco-leader of Montfleury Secondary School. Miss Sandrine.
Yes, greeting from Seychelles. I'm Miss Sandrine Valentin. Good evening, good morning, and good night to everyone. Yeah, my place it's night, it's quite late. For us, it's a very big honor. My team and I wish to thank you very much. We appreciate receiving this award. Actually, for us, it is an honor that we are given the opportunity to be on this webinar today. And all our thanks goes to Arigato Internationals and partners, and who have recognized our hard work since last year. We've been working hard, implementing the different aspects of SDGs and empowering our young generation at school level. Our team consists of 40 volunteers that are they are students and more than 10 active teachers while we carry on our activities. And my eco team consists of primarily students and teachers who willingly join the team. And along the way, depending on the different kind of activities that we do, we network with other schools, either primary or secondary, and with also local organizations. Among these activities, we do cleanups, sensitizing students through talks, followed by visits, and we do different small islands where we go and learn a little bit about the conservation work or project done over there. All of these activities are carried out during school time as well as during the holiday. My team doesn't rest at all. And as soon as we get the chance, we try to create camps so that we can go closer to the field, visits, make cleanups, and so on. All our activities evolve around the 3 R's, SDGs, as well as empowering our young volunteers to nature love for our environment and to show family and team spirit. Once more, my team wish to express our profound respect and gratitude for allowing us to share our work with you tonight.
Ms. Sandrine, we are indeed grateful for you and for your submission and for everything you do. And with that, and on behalf of all organizers, on behalf of Arigato International, UNICEF, Interfaith Alliance, all partners that participated in the putting up for this award, I congratulate the winners and thank you for this incredible work that they have been doing. And as Interfaith Alliance, see you next year with another version of this award. Back to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Donna. And I wish you had been here because it's been an extraordinary week and I think you would have enjoyed it very much.
I would have loved to be there.
Yes.
I am just so jealous of everybody.
Yes. So I'm glad you can join us now and make these presentations. It's been an extraordinary evening. It's late. We wanted to make an announcement at this time. I'm inviting my colleague, Dr. Mustafa Ali, to make a statement now about the GNRC 6th Forum that we are planning right now for next year. But before I do that, I just wanted to thank again all the participants for the Wear My Shoes Award and the awardees that made their presentations just now. So I think that, Mustafa, are you there? We don't see you.
I want to give the way
Unmute me.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Great. Over to you, Mustafa, Dr. Mustafa Ali, the Secretary General of the Global Forum of the Global Network of Religions for Children. Over to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much, Rebecca. I know it's quite late there in Mumbai, and good morning for those who are in the West. Good afternoon, those who are in Africa, parts of Africa, and good evening, those who are in parts of Africa, Middle East, and yourselves in India, Japan, and other places. A very warm welcome and greetings from the GNRC Secretariat here in Nairobi. Today, I'm honored to be here with you during this year's Day of Prayer and Action for Children, DPAC. This momentous occasion unites us in our shared commitment to the well-being of children and underscores the interconnectedness of our global community in addressing the challenges and opportunities that children are facing. The global context of children today is such that in the aftermath of COVID-19 pandemic, the world witnessed a devastating impact on humanity, particularly the children. Sadly, coupled with the recent extremely violent, atrocious, and appalling conflicts, children, unfortunately, bear the brunt of these wars and conflicts, complicating their situations. Today, we live in a period marked by the highest number of displaced children, over 40 million, unfortunately, that have been displaced. And this is a record highest number since the Second World War. The displacements have been occasioned by violent conflicts and poverty-triggered migrations, spanning the Middle East, Africa, Asia, parts of Europe, and Latin America. Increased child poverty and adverse effects from environmental degradation have complicated these situations. More than 150 million children, additional children, are living in multi-dimensional poverty, translating to reduced and lack of access to education, food, and nutrition, basic housing, water, sanitation, and healthcare because of the pandemic. Every 5 years, the GNRC holds global forums that bring together GNRC members, religious leaders, governments, children, youth, policymakers, academics, NGO and INGO representatives, and faith communities to discuss and make actionable recommendations regarding current issues that are facing the children. I am happy to share with you that the 6th Forum of the Global Network of Religions for Children, convened by Arigato International, will be hosted by the Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities. The forum will take place in the most welcoming city in the world, with the most welcoming people, Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. The GNRC 6th Forum will offer a space where organizations, children, GNRC members, diverse actors, collaborators, and partners of the Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities, Arigato International, and other partners will recommend solutions and renew commitments to addressing challenges arising that children face. The primary objective of the forum will be to bring GNRC members, governments, religious leaders, and partners around the world to discuss the issues that I have mentioned that children are facing. Specifically, the forum aims to review and reflect on the challenges faced by children around the world, create spaces for sharing the transformative agenda, initiatives, and actions to build a better world for children, build new synergies and partnerships at the global, regional, national, and grassroots levels, formulate concrete strategies and plans, and shared commitment to building sustainable, safer, and secure world for and with children. The world is becoming increasingly diverse, complex, and presenting newer global and local challenges to children. Children of the world need a safe environment to grow and develop regardless of their faith, cultural, racial, and economic backgrounds. Besides developing unique interventions and programs to address the challenges that the children are facing, the GNRC 6 Forum will provide a platform to discuss current issues affecting children, promoting collaboration and cooperation between different faith-based organizations and other actors. Lastly, the GNRC 6 Forum will commit to concrete actions and to contribute to building sustainable, safer, secure, and peaceful world for children and humanity. I look forward to seeing all of you in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. And just to conclude, I want to share with you that I am just simply sharing with you about the GNRC 6 Forum. Official announcement will be done in Abu Dhabi sometimes in January of 2024, and the dates will be communicated to you. The program will be communicated to you in due course. We look forward to having you, all of you, at the GNRC 6 Forum. Thank you, and back to you, Rebecca.
So this has been a very good evening, but a long one. And I would like to thank so many people that have helped us in making the World Day of Prayer and Action for Children 2023 so meaningful the last few days. And in particular, I'd like to thank all the members of the World Day Planning Committee. We have a slide that shows all of the different partners that have made this such a successful online event today. I'd like to especially thank the children, Muskan, Chinmayan, Francisco, Pode, Elian, Alain, Yael. I'd like to thank very much our co-moderator today, Andrea Kaufman, our excellent speakers and experts, Dr. Kezavino Aram, Professor Anantanan Rambachan, and also Dr. Najat Mala Majid, who sent her recorded message, Professor Benyam Dawit Mezmour, who also squeezed in this into his very busy schedule. He's representing the CRC committee. Thank you so much, Benyam, for once again joining us on this very, very special day. Thank you very much. We all appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And also, thank you to Kathleen Rutledge and Miss Lauren Van Ham. I think you gave very important inputs that maybe we had not taken into account before in our discussions. Frederic Seidel, I knew you would not disappoint, that you would always have something very, very fascinating for us to think about. Reverend Fred Nayabera, thank you for your inputs and for your contribution on how poverty is affected by climate change. That was extremely important to hear. All our Arigato international colleagues. Thank you, Fred. Where are you? Are you there? Thank you. A special thanks to the awardees. Again, I tried to say that in a very awkward manner. The awardees, I just want to say that we want to do a community of practice with the awardees. This is our third year, thanks to the Interfaith Alliance for Safer Communities. We don't want to leave it just there. We want to continue working with you, and you will be contacted by our colleagues to see how we can continue collaborating with you and building on what we have established the last couple of years. A special thanks also to UNICEF as co-convener again of the World Day in the Planning Committee, the Interfaith Alliance for making the Wear My Shoes Award possible. Thank you very much. And I would especially like to thank our local host, Dr. Kezavino Aram, president of Shanti Ashram, and who is probably listening, I think, is our dear friend, Archbishop Felix Machado, who did a very, very extraordinary job last few days in person and gathering a lot of partners at the events that we just experienced the last few days. as part of the World Day Indian Host Committee, which included many partners. So our PAC team in particular, who made this all happen today, Ornella, who's here with me, Ornella, thank you, Barros, Adriana, you were out there, Adriana Gomez and Alibe Hamaker, we thank you all for all the support. I know that you stayed up very late and we appreciate it very much. So I'm sure I left somebody out. Faraz, you're here and we thank you for coming on behalf of the. And there are many others that we'd like to thank because this is a real collective effort every year. So thank you all. And this will be the close. We close then now and hope you will join us again next year. Thank you very much.